So you might have noticed in the little short that we put out, we have a new vehicle that we're going to be using. It's a Stewart and Stevenson light medium tactical vehicle, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Think of it like a very big side-by-side that has the ability to do, well, bigger work or bigger play. I guess it depends on how you look at it. So we got a few projects we got to do with it. It's a big holding tank up there, and there's a water pump so we can use it for fighting fires at the property. All the sides will fold down. You'll probably see it in different configurations in time. Interior is going to need some work, but it's old. It's a 1993, so. Look, it even has a glove box. Haven't decided on the name yet. We're still arguing over it, but you ever feel like something's just staring you right in the face? Yeah, me too. Anyway, today we're going to start working on the lights. So one of the things I have to fix is when the firefighters previously had this vehicle, they had their fire lights in, and they decided to cut giant holes. Not very clean, so we'll just come in here, clean this up, focus, clean this up, give it a quick little spray paint so that the metal doesn't rust. You can see right here, here are the wires for the clearance light, some mystery wires. Neither seem to go anywhere, but the big red wire does head up to the back of the cab, similar to where the original plug was, but it's not actually connected. But since it's already there and it's a pretty heavy gauge, I might reuse that in the future. Let's get this hole cleaned up and cut some panels to go over top of it. Eventually there'll be a more permanent mount, but for now, we're going to temporarily, permanently fix it. All right, all clean. Time to go get some rebuilding spray. Doesn't really matter what color I pick because it's going to be behind a plate, and eventually if I were to ever repaint it, it wouldn't matter for that reason too. So I'm going to go find some scrap paint, put some paint on the bare metal, and move on to the next step. Exceptionally smooth. Yeah, okay, whatever. Never will you see a more professional paint job. But like I said, this is all going to get covered up by a plate and focus. And the whole point of this was just to cover up the bare metal, just enough to where it doesn't want to rust. So that'll work. Okay, for the holes, this is the bottom of the light that was in there. And all I did was set it onto some metal, mark it out, and then I drilled the holes based on where the mounting holes are, which will line up with the truck. And all I did was, after making 2 plates, I just quickly riveted them together so that they don't move, because yeah, my cutting is less than perfect all the way around. I don't have like a sheet metal cutter or CNC or anything like that. So now I'll go ahead and square up the edges. I'm going to be rounding over the edges, and then once this is all done, drill out the rivets, and we'll get some sealant out and go mount it to the truck. So here's a picture of the plates that I made, and I promise I didn't use anything special. I used a hole saw for the middle, regular drill bits for all the little holes, and I used an angle grinder with a flap disc on it to round those corners. Then I used a foam sanding block to just round over the edges and get the burrs off and make it a more finished look. And that's all I did. Primed it, painted it, and here we are. Paint's not a perfect match, but it'll do for now. So I wasn't necessarily intending on making a video on this, but it doesn't seem like a lot of people online go through the eccentricities of the whole deal. So I pulled out the headlight bezel. I had to fix this anyway. It looks like somebody had hit it and knocked it back up, like all the way back to here, so I couldn't get my hand in anyway. But now I'm trying to figure out how to get this light off. If you look at the new ones, which are nice, shiny new LED versions, on the back, there are 2 bolts. So if I reach my hand in here, I can feel the bolts back there. But I don't know how to get a wrench on them. Okay, well, it's not optimal. Though, I guess you could say it is optimal, because you can reach in and get to both of them here. It's not going to be fun. I have to take my jacket off, but yep. These are a 14 millimeter. I just tested the socket to make sure. And I'm going to try using the little 1/4 inch one just because of space. You can see right there they are. Some wires hanging out the back, but I think they'll be fine. Just got to get those out, and then the new one can go back in. The new one will have a little bit more flexible wires. These are kind of hard from being so old. But that is the plan. And there's no way I'm getting a camera and my arm in there, so you'll have to just trust me that I get it off. So being the quantity of man that I am, I don't exactly have Popeye forearms, but if you do have large forearms, you might need to find someone else to help you out. But those 2 bolts did come off easily, so that's going to come right out. But before that, I did notice that if you pull the wires, up here, they'll be a lot easier to disconnect here, because otherwise they only make it to about here, which means then you got to work inside the hole. So I'm just going to go ahead and gently pull these apart. Looks like they've lived better lives. I might see if I've got some shrink tube that I can put on this, or some more electrical tape before it goes back in again. Electrical tape's not as optimal, but I might wrap it in electrical tape and then shrink wrap it for thickness. But anyway, pull this out, get the slide out, work on getting the new one back in. So worth noting, I was just about to pull this off, and I realized that whoever messed with this before, it might have been when it was being painted, it just got painted over, but these little metal tags that tell you which pen goes to what, unfortunately, are useless. So I'm going to have to come through here and test each one of these. There's a ground that's floating around down there, but you got your 3 wires. So here's the new one, and so we've got that guy. There's your ground, your 491, and the other one, of course, is turned all the way around the other way. There's that one. So what these 3 are going to do, one of them is your like running lights for the turn signal, one of them's your actual turn signal, and then one of them's going to operate the blackout lights. So I'll put an image on screen with how the wires go, and you may have to test your plugs like I do and mark them so that you know which is which when you're putting it back together. So for any of you that are shaking your fist at the screen right now, saying, "Hey, stupid, why don't you check on the other side?" Well, you would be right. However, in this particular situation, when it was put back together, they weren't done right anyway, so I have to check them regardless. But yes, if your wires on your truck are bad, you might be able to check with these. Though, to be fair, these were also buried inside and would have been a little harder to read, but not impossible. So yes, I could have tried to do this if they were working right to begin with. But either way, this guy's coming out. It's worth noting that That guy's metal, and the newer one is plastic. But it's inside of an armored case, so unless you just run into a tree and stab it, it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. And if you really cared, I'm sure you could probably pull out the wiring, take that housing off. You'd have to reuse the front because the setup is different than the original. But if you really wanted the metal back housing, but again, you know, realistically speaking, if you're doing this, you're already going for the effect and the convenience, I should say, of these. So it is what it is, and you live with that. So one of the projects I wanted to do when I'm putting in the new headlights is I want to be able to have the daytime running lights feature work, which some people have just wired it into the regular low beams and they only come on when the high beams and low beams are on. But what I want to do is actually make it work as a daytime running light. So I needed to find a circuit that was only on when I actually activated the turn signals and or headlights. So in these trucks, when they're in the off position, nothing works. You're running completely dark. But when you move it over to the stoplight or the service drive, then all your lights will work, be it your running lights, turn signals, brake lights, that sort of thing. There's probably 20 different options in here, but one of the ones I found was CB73. That's your backup lights. And that's not a circuit that's used very often, and these are going to be LED running lights, daytime running lights, so we're not going to have to worry about a large draw anyway. So with that one, I went over to the dash, and I found CB73. And so I'll be able to use that circuit. And along with that circuit, I'm just going to use one of these simple things. It'll go in place. I'll put the relay hanging off the bottom. I'll put the fuse for the daytime running lights in the top. And that should take care of my daytime running light wish list item. So these are the headlights we're going to be using. They're 7-inch headlights for a Jeep. They're different than some of the other ones I've seen online, but that's probably because those videos are old, and this is what's available as of 2024, 2025. And this is what they look like. They have the daytime running light on the top and the bottom. And actually that one's upside down. So that's how it works. You got the low beams on the bottom and then the high beams on the top. Actually, they both come on when it's high beams. So the only thing I had to do differently, I'll show you the one that's already installed. These bezels, when they go on, you've got 3 screws. You got one at like 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 6 o'clock-ish. But you can see those holes at 12 and 9. Those are for the adjusters, and they go exactly in that position. There's little set screws behind it, like normal headlights would have. So here's the headlight that's installed. And you can see I've got the 2 screws in. The one that's different is at the bottom. Now, luckily, I had some in a drawer. Now, the top 2, they bit and probably got 1, 2, maybe even 3 threads. So they're in there good enough. I mean, you can tell that they're biting. But when you do that, the bottom one won't reach. So you just have to unscrew it. And in my case, I had to drill it out. Again, I don't know what screw this is. It was something that I had, in my general collection. But I tested it on the truck and it fit, so it's the right threads, probably metric of some sort. And yeah, don't judge. I may have painted the screw temporarily permanent. And then this longer screw, which you can tell, it's got plenty of depth in the truck to go in. And this just went right in. Of course, when it first locks in, it's got a lot, but there's plenty of room to screw it all the way in. So you could probably use a shorter one than this This is just what I had, and it's what I used, and it worked. So it's a little dark. This is the one I have not done yet. But you've got your 17, 18, and 91. And then this little wire, which I just drilled a hole, found a grommet kit on Amazon. You can get it anywhere. I just put a grommet in, poked a hole in it, and put the wire through. And that's the wire that goes up to the dash. And that connects to the daytime running lights that we talked about earlier. Your mileage may vary, but this is the little daytime running light, which is why I have a spade connector in there. I got pushed back, I'll fix that. But all I did was connect the 3 wires from the old headlights, soldered them together, shrink wrapped, bundled them, and check your lighting because it can all be a little different. In this case, the blue was the high, the white was the low, and the black was the ground. And you just got to make sure that it corresponds with the high, low, and ground in the truck, which I don't remember, so I might put it on screen if I can remember. All right, it's dark, and if I don't kill myself moving around in here. Okay. So yes, I forgot to turn off the garage light inside, but headlights are installed. Let's see. Boom. Now, I think I'm fogging up the windshield because it's cold and I'm on the passenger side, but these lights are significantly brighter than they were before. It does feel like they're aiming a little high. I'll have to get it out in the street where it's sitting as it would be driving down the road, and I'll adjust them with those top screws. Now, it is worth noting that I hooked them up ahead of time, and this driver's side one actually shines straight ahead. They're not marked, so make sure if yours aren't marked, just hook them up. I used a little wall power adapter you'd get off of a portable phone or something like that. But this one basically just shined straight forward. Now this one, when I plugged it in, it had kind of a straight forward, but it also veered to the left. So it gives a little more light into the middle, which is what you see there. Though it does look like they do reach out both sides, so there's that. And if I can reach it, those are the high beams. Nope, I'm an idiot. Those are the high beams. That's why the high beam light's on. That's the low beams. And then the high beams, you can actually see that the normal horizontal light's there, and then the spots come on top. So this might actually be okay, but I'm still gonna get it out in the road and make sure that it's working. And then as far as the daytime running lights, if you're not an idiot like me, you will have remembered to put some sort of fuse in. This is not the way it's gonna stay. But now let's go back and hopefully unlock. Nope. Okay, take 65. I can find the wire.
A few moments later.
Take 6042. Here are the daytime running lights. Daytime running lights? Ah! Now obviously these aren't meant to be headlights, but there's the circuit. Now there's something wrong with my circuit. I'm gonna have to fix it. The tap fuse isn't working right. But other than that, the wire that goes out works great. And the daytime running lights are on anytime my circuit that includes turn signals and such are on. So if I want to run dark, I still have that option. These aren't operated from the key directly. So this is how the front turned out. I haven't replaced the top ones yet. They're still red, but same process as all the others. Just a power wire and a ground. So the plates aren't perfect, but they're going to do the job and they look fine for now. So just a quick note, the taillights are no different than the front, except that they have an extra wire, because they've got 2 of those. But they also have this extra wire on both sides, and that accounts for your running lights, so you can have accessories and things like that. And so I used it on the right side for my license plate. Now you could mount it on the left side, but I didn't. Well, that's going to do it for this video on the truck. There will be more videos on the truck if there's anything in particular you want to see. There are a lot of videos out there of other people that own these vehicles, but I'll be more than happy to put together something that you might be looking for. We do have a shelter now for it that's going to be turned into a camper, but the weather's finally turning positive, and we're going to be able to get back out on the property and actually get out in the fields, start cutting the trails back, and start working on the gun range. And there's still some cabin work, so there should be more videos coming out now. We won't be slogging around in a muddy mess anymore, and the snow and ice and all that fun stuff is gone for now. So again, take a look. We'll have some more videos coming out soon, and if there's anything you want to see, leave a comment. So until next time, stay safe, go outdoors, and enjoy the property life.